And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcast, but also as well Game Source and Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Of course, you know Joe, whenever he decides to get off the boat and get off the island, Catalina Island, you know he likes to go ahead and talk about the Lakers at Lakersball.com. It's Oxide 47. And speaking of which, when he gets off the island, he goes back to his place of work, which is SynBlades. SynBlades with a Y.com. If you want to go ahead and get your lawn transformed into something much more magical than it is today, and you live in the Southern California area, please go ahead and hit up Joe today so he can afford more trips to Catalina Island. SynBlades with a Y.com. Plus also as well, Lakerholics.com. You know Laker Tom, he's tweeting everywhere at Laker Tom, but he also is the number one Lakers blogger that's out there. It is Laker Tom. And also as well, our good friend Jamie Sweet performing right now on stage. He's going to try to make it after he gets off stage, after what he said, as soon as I'm finished with my gig, he'll come over and join us on the show, hopefully. And you can go ahead and catch what he has to say on his 5 Things articles right there for you at Lakerholics.com. I don't know if they're feuding still. Maybe Jamie on tonight on his set on stage, you know, when he does his playing the guitar and all that, you know, maybe when he was maybe, you know, singing a love song to Laker Tom. So we'll see. And I'll go ask him when he, you know, comes here hopefully tonight. But you can always go ahead and hit him up today at Lakerholics.com. Plus also our good friend John McCallion. John McCallion has a great YouTube channel, 50 pounds down, 80 pounds to go. He also has some great conversations in store for you on his YouTube channel. And speaking of YouTube, please, we're almost at 9:30. We need to get to 1,000. Just 71 more to go. 71 more subscribers to get us that magical 1,000 point where everybody in YouTube, all those videos, there's instructional videos and all that stuff, they say, the first 1,000's tough, the toughest. But you're good. It's all after that. It's easy peasy after that. You'll get lots of subscribers after that. So if that's the case, I'm going to hold him to it and say, you got to help us get to 1,000. And afterwards, it's all easy peasy from there. But you can go ahead and just click on Joe's beady eyes below Sean today. Get the latest notifications, or will we go live on the air right here at the Lakers Fast Break. I do want to make mention, I did not mention the Upside Swings podcast, which we normally have with Stone Hansen. I do want to mention that one more time, they did come out with a new episode, the guys at Upside Swings, but they did announce that right now they're going forward. They're going without Stone Hansen. So that probably means Stone Hansen is going to take some time off from the realm of basketball. I did speak to him last week, and we did have a conversation. I told him he is always welcome here. We have truly and immensely appreciated every single bit of things that he has done, his advice, his analysis, whether it's on the games, whether it's on the draft choices, whether it's on the coach, everything that he's done for us here at the Lakers Fast Break. We are truly indebted to him. I told him then, and I told him every time. I told him live as well when he was here at the Thomas and Mack in Vegas. You're welcome. The welcome mat is always here for you, my friend. Just go ahead and please, if you ever have the love for basketball, if you still want to go ahead and have that love for the Lakers and express it, you know we're always right here for you at the Lakers Fast Break. So again, if Stone's taking some time off, which he did not say yes or no he would, but I kind of got in the inference today on the Upside Swings podcast, then my friend, if you're listening or if this message gets to you, just know we are indebted to you and we always will welcome you back right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. Mickey C, we're not going to put up with your stuff today. We do love you. We do appreciate you joining us, but come on. We're not going to talk about that stuff today right there. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to get the latest notifications on when we go live in the air, latest Lakers Fast Break. It's so funny. We've got the world's greatest Lakers chat room right here at the Lakers Fast Break. But as soon as we get rid of one troll, another troll comes in there. So yes, and we just exit out that other troll. It's just like one comes in, we take one out. The trash goes out, the trash comes back in, so we have to take it out again. So you know what? Still, regardless, We still have the best Lakers chat room that's out there. That is the Lakers Fast Break. If Sean, I'll just say this before I give you the proper introduction. If the if the question is, if the trolling question is, who is the cutest Lakers player? That's pretty minor league from what we've dealt with over the past year. That's for sure.
To come with it, like that's not even a slider to us. Like
Yeah.
it's like that's like some weird knuckleball you're just serving up. Like, come on, man.
That's like low level, low league troll. Just enjoy the
Yeah,
show. Yeah,
yeah,
just
yeah.
enjoy the show, and let's talk about some good stuff when it comes to the Lakers. We've over the past year we've had it all right here at the Lakers Fast Break. So I'll tell you what though, it is great to have you here, Mickey C, and great to have everyone here at the Lakers Fast Break. We'll be talking Taurean Prince, talking about him here being an addition to the Lakers, the good parts, the bad parts about bringing him here. So we'll see what happens with the Torian Prince. We're going to go ahead and talk about today. Plus, a minor change to the two-way contracts. So we'll talk about that on the show as well. But here today, good man indeed. He's the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to put on some fly headphones. And of course, he's got the awesome Lakers uniform with him as well. It is a good man indeed. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. And Sean, you notice I did not give an intro truly to Joe Soro, aka Ox 1947, who is on him, as he mentioned, a Catalina Island tour, my friend. You could either give a Gilligan joke in there somehow, somewhere, 3 hour tour. But the word what he said about when he talked about, of course, what I was saying about Catalina Island, the word that came to mind for me, my friend, dinghy. Why did dinghy come to mind for me? I don't know. But good to have you here, my friend, nonetheless.
Gerald, I have to say that was excellent timing. It couldn't have been done better, and it was on the nose. Wow.
Yes.
Um,
He might be at the Catalina wine mixer, Mikey. He might be there. He might be. Who knows?
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Hey, Joe.
yeah,
Joe enjoys the finer things in life:
yes.
caviar, foie gras.
I went
He
there a long
probably
time ago as a kid. I remember being fun when I went there as a kid, but that was like decades ago. So I'm assuming it's still fun out there. It's a little tiny little island out there. Takes about an hour to get there, but it's a really cool place from what I remember.
Yeah, I could picture him like drinking like a $35,000 glass of Merlot and calling it bathtub water.
Well, there he is. Joe's in the chat right now. Joe, according to our email, because everybody doesn't get to see our emails, thank goodness for that. But I think what Laker Nick was trying to say was that they're copying our material because they're now doing a Cam Reddish profile, which we did yesterday. So that was yesterday's news for us, literally. So that's what I think he meant was that they're doing a Cam Reddish profile on tonight's show because they have nothing else original. So they see what else is going. Because I know my stuff as far as the Lakers Fast Break podcast that also gets into the feeds. Like for instance, FeedSpot sends us an email of all the Lakers related shows each and every day. They send me that and they probably get the same emails that I do. So they see that I touched on Cam Reddish yesterday. So guess what? They're going to touch on it today. So that's just how they are. Just unoriginal. There you go. Absolutely.
Lame AF, guys. Lame
Yes.
AF. Like, honestly, like if you want to get on this bandwagon, that's fine. Just be honest about it and just tell us that you're just taking our stuff and calling it your own. Not
There you go.
cool. Not cool.
Intel Wild says Trevor Lane, of course, I think he's referring to, said if he's ever sees Joe in public, he's gonna lost internet signal. So there you go. That's too funny.
I think he will dive into whatever dumpster or garbage can is nearby because he could fit in any compact one.
You know what? We shouldn't be so hard. He is a Lakers fan. He just lacks some personality. That's why people gravitate towards us because we have some personalities on this program, and that's why we do welcome you and thank you so much for being a part of what we do. Maybe they don't like the normal, usual shtick that Laker Nation, Locked on Lakers, whatever Lakers basketball shows that they listen to, they don't, have the je ne sais quoi that we do. So you know what? If you do, that's why we're here. We truly appreciate it and cannot thank you enough for stopping by here, the Lakers Fast Break podcast. But first, before we get into Taurean Prince and the addition of Taurean Prince here, my friend, there was a small addition as far as to be made. We did expect one, but kind of a little bit surprising on the other. The not so surprising part was that the team waived Cole Swider earlier today. The guy can hit threes at a 40% plus clip, but unfortunately, it's just not athletic, can't give you much else. And unfortunately, at the NBA level, he's just, I don't know if he'll ever stick full time in the NBA. I just think maybe he's like right on that fringe. Maybe he can give you a few games here or there, but basically Cole Swider, I think, will probably have a very tough time staying in the NBA. He may get a
Mhm.
cup of coffee here or there, but I think maybe G League or Europe might be his ultimate destination. But your thoughts on Cole Swider as we say goodbye to him? Or maybe he'll actually stay on the team as far as the South Bay Lakers is concerned, just so that he'll get some reps so it can look good to other teams so that they can go ahead and maybe possibly pick him up. There's an injury or whatnot, or maybe he'll land on another training camp team. But your thoughts on Cole Swider before we head over to who we did pick up or who we did bump up to a two-way contract.
Yeah, you know something, Gerald, as we watched him progress last year, we often said, he could really shoot the ball. He's got nice size for a wing. He's 6'9", but the athletic ability just isn't there. It looks like he's got galoshes or cement at the bottom of his sneakers sometimes when he's trying to scurry around the perimeter. It's awkward. But as we kept repeating, if he could shoot the ball and play marginal defense, he could find his way as a role player in the NBA. But like you said, Gerald, I think he's gonna latch on to a G League team and try and make his way up the hard way rather than a two-way. I think he's just going to be sign a G League contract and try and make it the hard way. And like you said, I think he's willful enough and determined enough to try and get a cup of coffee in the NBA. I think that will happen for him. I'm with you. I just don't see the consistency there yet. But Cole's only 24. Nobody's a finished product at 24 as a person or a basketball player. So we'll wait and see. I wish him luck in the future, and if he does ever play in the NBA, I do wish him a lot of luck. Just not when he's ever playing the Lakers.
Well, it's the same situation as Matt Ryan. As far as the way he won a game for us, but he could not consistently stay on the floor, even if that was the case. And we saw him get waived. He got picked up by Minnesota, played a little bit for them, but unfortunately, again, a situation where he cannot consistently stay on the floor due to his lack of athleticism, just being not being able to defend on the perimeter, as you're talking about. So I see a lot of similarities to Cole Swider. So if Cole Swider can hit at a 40 to even 45% clip from three, that might always give him a chance to stay at the back end of someone's roster.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can make the big shots when your number is called or when the ball's in your hands, you'll find minutes. You'll find a way to carve an impact into the NBA game, Gerald. But you got to work for it when you've been released by an eminent team right here. You got to have a real big chip on your shoulder.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, and me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching this. And hopefully, Captain Joe Soro will get off the little boat, the SS Minnow, and be able to go ahead and join us. Also, as well, when he gets off stage performing, maybe Jamie Sweet can go ahead and do that as well. But it is the Lakers Fast Break. And again, the individual we talked about being waived, Cole Swider, gets replaced on one of the two-way contracts that we have. He gets bumped up from an Exhibit 10. It is Alex Fudge. And your thoughts, though, now, that gives the Lakers, again, three two-way contracts. In order to keep the three two-way contracts, you have to have 15 roster players by the start of the season. So, first off, before we get into what this all means as far as him being replaced, replacing Cole Swider and still maintaining 3 2 ways as of now, your thoughts on Alex Fudge himself? Stone said it best, probably one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive player as far as that he's ever done any type of scouting on in all of his years, which doesn't tell you much. I saw him live on 2 occasions, and I didn't get much better imprint on that. I saw him actually blow a layup and then blow a slam dunk back to back on the same play, which again, it was someone with his athletic gifts kind of really surprised me there. Eh, Defensively, he reminds me a lot of Jared Vanderbilt. But right now, my friend, his ceiling as an offensive player would be Jared Vanderbilt, and that's not good at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely not, Gerald. Like Stone said, I mean, and Stone's not one for hyperbole or exaggeration. He is salt to the earth, soup to nuts, bare bones, just what he sees. And like you said, Gerald, he's repeated himself. The worst offensive player I've ever had to scout ever. And your story is a great anecdote into why. I remember in one summer league game, he actually blew a layup and a dunk. It just wasn't on the same possession. It was on consecutive possessions. But Gerald, I think he had about a handful of opportunities just to make a simple layup in transition during the summer league, and he missed all of them. He missed all of them. It looked like he had more trouble outside of 3 feet than Wenyan Gabriel does, and that should alarm people. Because, as Gerald has often said about Wenyan Gabriel, heart of gold, and really gives a Lions effort, but just so limited offensively. And Fudge is more limited than Gabriel.
Again, that would be the ceiling for Fudge at this point in time is to have the offensive game that Winnie Gabriel or Jared Vanderbilt has, and that's not. That's just a reality. Sorry if it comes off a little bit mean, but right now that's where he is in his development, and that's kind of sad because this is not a guy. This is not a one and done player, my friend. This is someone that's a 4 year player coming out of Florida, and really, it just someone who could really do some great things defensively if he does get into the league at some point. But the problem is his offensive game is always going to be his Achilles heel.
Yeah, I mean, Gerald, if we have to look at maybe a comp, and we try not
I
to
said
do.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah, yes, but I'm talking about in terms of your great defense is offsetted by your terrible inefficient offense, and uh different position but very similar. But he did play in the league. He's not in it now. Frank
Hmm.
Ntilikina wasn't a very adept offensive player, Gerald, but he was able to secure minutes in a rotation because his defense was so menacing.
Tony
um
Allen would be someone I would actually, if you really want to go down that road.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the best of the best, but even Tony Allen could put the ball on the floor and get to the bucket once in a while if he had to. Alex Fudge, that would be a monumental task, and one he's not prepared for, Gerald, and that's
No
just the
use as of
truth.
yet.
Yeah, not yet. I think he needs a lot of time in South Bay with developmental coaches. And Gerald, if your only skill set is defense, then you have to be at least either an above average to a great offensive rebounder, and he's not that either. So he's going to have to find ways to do the dirty work to get noticed, I think, in order to, like, he's not going to play at all in the league this year. There's just no way. He's just too raw offensively. There's just nothing to work with. He's clay right now offensively, Gerald. You can mold him into something. I agree with you there, but right now it's just you can't make anything out of that right now.
The thing I want to ask you though is the Lakers again. That leaves them with again three two-way players, and in order to keep all three two-way players, you've got to fill up 15 roster spots up there before the season starts. Which leads me to the conclusion that we could go right back down as far as going ahead and maybe either getting two players to fill those roles, bumping up two players from the two-way roles and putting them in those slots, or basically it's just through camp to give him an extended look and a little bit more pay than what you get on Exhibit 10, and then deciding whether or not you want to go ahead and cut him or put him back on Exhibit 10. I don't know. I don't know what the options are. If you do that and revert him back, if it doesn't work out and you don't want to fill the 15th spot. But you tell me what the mindset of the Lakers could actually be by making this maneuver and bumping up from an Exhibit 10 to a two-way for Alex Fudge.
Yeah, interesting there, Gerald. I think the simplest explanation for all this would be if internally, if Demoy Hodge keeps shooting at the crater pace that he is, I mean, he's just bombing away. He'll secure a contract uh, with the Lakers, Gerald. There's just no question about it. Given the fact that he's such a heady player, very smart, continues to shoot well, I'm not deterred by the fact that he's 24, going to be 25 in December. If he's shooting like that, there's no deterrence to his age, none. So that leaves then one spot, and I'm not sure what's going to happen there. I think the man who shall not be named is just, I mean, I don't think he's going to end up a Laker at this point. Um, I think we said that about a week ago. It just seems that the more the days drag on, that's a less likely outcome um, as well. So I think internally, I think Hodge will eventually get one of those spots, Gerald, because I'm just confident in his ability to stay hot from beyond the arc and find a way to be a smart defender and stay on the floor. The other spot, I'm not too sure. I wouldn't want to bump Castleton up to a standard NBA contract yet, Gerald, because you just don't know which way he's going to go as far as development's concerned. And if you still have him on that if you still have him on that two way, you
You could
have
be right, Samir. You could be right based on if you listened to us yesterday on Who is Cam Reddish on our show there.
if you keep him on that two way, you create there's just more optionality for him and for you, and it just seems like that's the way it's going to go with Colin. As far as Fudge goes, Gerald, yeah, it's that that's interesting. I mean, you can bump them off the team basically. I think only two ways. It's 75K that's guaranteed. So, I mean, if you wanted to eventually bump them at the last minute, you could. It's not really in the Lakers' business practice to do that. They usually, if they're usually fair with people. So if a guy wants an opportunity or is not getting it with the Lakers, they usually find a way to work things out. But again, I think Fudge is a limited two-way player, Gerald, and I think that it's just it's a it's an iffy two-way. Like he could be slotted in there, he could be slotted out. I don't think that position is secured for him.
I just think it's very telling. Maybe they wanted to get the kid some more money before they decide whether or not they want to keep him or waive
Hmm.
him in camp. That may come down to it. Again, it all depends on what the signals. If you tried to read between the tea leaves, my friend, this could mean that again that the Lakers are serious about bringing up maybe well if they get a Wood or someone else as far as Biombo or somebody else, another center stiff to come in there for lack of a better term because pretty much all the rest are out there are what would be phrased as stiffs. But if you ever get someone to go ahead and be a backup center, a big man to go ahead and be on the roster as a 14th guy, it sounds more and more like then you have the two slots there. You've freed yourself up from that. But it just seems to me like the possibilities there more and more that they're eyeing a Castleton or a Demoy Hodge bump up to a regular contract.
Yeah, that's what I see as well. Again,
Which to me, I kind of get I don't know, not irritated, but it kind of concerns me because you have the capability to move these two-way guys anytime during the season and bump them up to a full year contract. That's regard,
mhm.
as they get closer to that 40-45 game limit. To me, I think it'd be wise just to go ahead and sneak that route. But then again, by moving Alex Fudge into a two-way contract, it kind of, either shows your hand or basically shows some goodwill to Alex Fudge's agent and whatnot. So
Yeah, and Gerald, we know that Rob Palinka was a former agent. That's a great point you're making. There's a lot of business relationships that come
mhm.
from networking, and you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Because the
You're
Exhibit
right.
10 does not pay
Yeah.
much.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So if he does get bumped up to a two-way, that's more guaranteed money for Alex Fudge. Gerald is correct. Yep. So I think that's the simplest explanation right now, Gerald, is that yeah, it's just I think this is just kind of relationship building between Palinka and an agent and other agents looking and seeing what's happening. So I'm with you there. That's what it looks like.
Because
The
yeah,
optics just focal in on that particularly. Good point, Gerald.
well, just because the Exhibit 10, what it does, it allows you the opportunity when a space is available or you make a space available to put them into a two-way situation. It's like somebody coming out of the bullpen to come into your two-way slot. So that's what the
Mhm.
Exhibit 10 is all about. Is kind of like he is part of the Lakers, but only on the fringe because you have to make a maneuver. You have to get him on the roster, decide what you want to do with him before the season starts. And that's what the Exhibit 10 is all about. So it's kind of like a temporary hold on a player saying, we know we don't want you to be a free agent, but we're not sure we're going to be commit to you 100% either. So I think
That's
that's
right.
what so that's basically what the Exhibit 10 is all about. But it's very, very interesting to see the games that are going on. And again, as of right now, you have three two-way contracts and you only have 13 slots filled. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Lakers decide to do. They're obviously pleased enough with Alex Fudge that they're willing to go to bring him to camp, bring him into training camp on a two-way, seeing if it'll pan out. So at least they're going ahead as far as eyeing him. I don't see everything that they see in Alex Fudge because again, he did have some athleticism and can play a little bit of D, but he didn't play enough strong enough D in that environment, which is really hard to do for a defensive player,
Mhm.
defensive minded
Yes.
player in that type of environment at summer league. I'll give you that. But I don't know if I saw enough to go ahead and say, yeah, I think he's going to be a great part of the Lakers' future.
Yeah, absolutely, Gerald. And you're right about the defense as well, because the most hyped and vaunted defensive player in the draft, Kassan Wallace, struggled uh, a lot during summer league as far as being a defensive presence,
But
and
offensively, Kason Wallace was actually giving them a lot of high spots and surprises. So
he was.
they're
I
very excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. But Gerald's right. It's really hard to showcase your defensive aptitude, if you were in summer league, because there are 10 fouls given, so they have a lot of leeway as far as defensive lapses and struggling. So Gerald's right about the defensive lack of um, kind of attention. More so, it's more offensive, more showcasing athletic ability. So yeah, yes, I think that's true, Gerald.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. But it is our talk about Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince comes over as a grizzled veteran For his last stop was with Minnesota, playing a role off the bench for them. I want to go ahead and touch on some things with you now, Sean. This is part of the free agent haul that we got. I thought was, again, all these players seem to fit a niche either with some promise that you see from Cam Reddish, as we talked about on yesterday's show,
Mhm.
and what we'll talk about with Jackson Hayes, or you have veteran players who know how to get it done and who does you don't expect a whole lot from them, but you're not going to be disappointed with the returns that they're most likely going to give to you. And when it comes to Taurean Prince, my friend, he does have a career with four. This will be his fifth NBA team from what I'm seeing. So what I'm asking you here is, again, 38% free 3-point shooting, about 9 points a game. He only got right around about 22 minutes a game. So it's something where he's not going to play a huge role, but as a seventh, eighth guy off the bench that can play on the wing and can hit an outside shot. He said
Mhm.
his goal to hit it with the Lakers to hit above 40% from the 3-point line. So he's motivated to do that. I see him as a player. We're going to get into good that has some good attributes. He actually shot pretty well from the field overall, 46%, almost 47% from as far as the field goal. So he's hitting a lot more twos than what he was doing in the past. Your thoughts on Taurean Prince and his arrival for the Lakers?
Yeah, but before we start the conversation, Gerald, I'd like to ask you a question.
Good free
But
thrower too, by the way,
yeah,
80% free thrower.
yeah. So what's your definition specifically of a volume 3-point shooter? Put a number on it
I'd say
per
six,
game. Yeah, uh,
six.
I'd say I'd say 5 to 6, but more on the high end. So if you split the difference there, 5.5
One
to
every 3 to 4
6, yeah,
minutes. If you
yeah.
take one every 3 to 4
Cra-
minutes, you're in there.
That's the man's average. He's the only season he didn't average less than 6 3-point attempts was his rookie year. So he is, by definition, a volume 3-point shooter. If you look at his career statistics, over half of his shots have been 3-point attempts. Now he's not quote unquote talked about as a 3-point shooter. He's been more described as a 3 and D, Gerald. But uh, last year, uh, because Minnesota made so many moves, they were more reliant on Prince as a 3-point shooter above anything else. Because other than Carl Anthony Towns, the best 3-point shooter on the Wolves was Torian Prince.
The thing I ask you though is, he's here and he signed a $4.5 million contract, which was the MLE for the. Excuse me, wasn't the MLE, but it was a veterans contract that was above the veterans minimum.
Yeah, the
So 4.5.
biannual
Yeah, the
exception.
biannual exception. Just off the top of my head, I forgot what that was. The biannual exception that he signed for 4.5 million, which is great. I think he's on a good value contract. If he gives you what he gave you last year or what he's given you in the past, he's still not in his 30s yet. So it's really good sign that he can give you a little bit more. He's going to be in his age 28, 29 season. The thing that's bothering me though, when it comes to it, $10 million was going what he was supposed to be picking up as far as a team option if Minnesota wanted to. And after a season where he got 38% from three, where he did shoot not too bad from overall over the field. He only gave you limited minutes, but still he gave you some pretty good stats there. And again, a good free throw shooter as well. Unfortunately, that wasn't enough for him for in Minnesota's mind to justify giving him 10 million, so they let him go. Obviously giving the Lakers the opportunity to go ahead and sign there for a much lesser rate. What do you think was the fallout and the reasons why he was not, someone that they didn't want to go ahead and continue on in a Minnesota uniform?
Yeah, you know something, Gerald. I think
Even though I already know one of the answers, but I just don't. I want to make sure you find.
Gerald, one of the interesting aspects of this whole situation is there's kind of like two Torian Prince experiences as a Wolf. There's the one where he had a bunch load of menacing perimeter defenders that he complimented. He wasn't asked to be a Pat Beverly or a
Mhm.
Jared Vanderbilt. Those were the two most ferocious defenders that the Wolves had. And you add in Carl Anthony Towns, you add in another guard, and all they really needed Taurean Prince do was complement their offense and complement their defense. Chris Finch, in that situation, didn't ask Taurean Prince to do more than he can, which is what he was asked to do this past year. Taurean Prince is a good 3 and D guy when he's got a complement of defenders around him. Free Smoke is right. They let him go because of McDaniels, but here's the thing, Free Smoke. McDaniels couldn't shoot his way out of out of a
Are you
out of a
sure on that?
yeah,
Well, he
during
shot
his
40%. He shot 40%
wait a
last year
minute,
from
wait a
three.
minute. We're talking about a year or two ago. We're not talking about now. He struggled. That's why they needed Prince out there, because he they had Malik Beasley on the perimeter and they had Taurean Prince. Those are the two guys they relied on
Oh yeah,
around
2 years ago. Two
Yeah.
years ago he was awful, but last year he
Yes.
shot 40% from the
Right.
field, from 3 point.
Last year he did, but the year
Yeah,
before he did struggle, and that's why
yeah.
they needed Taurean Prince there, because he provided the cushion. When
So once he
McDaniels
improved his shooting before he broke his hand, you're saying that's why they no longer needed Taurean Prince.
Well, didn't he provide the best of both worlds for that team, Gerald? Because Malik Beasley couldn't defend himself out of a paper
And
bag, and,
he
and
is he
McDaniels couldn't shoot his way out of a bad situation.
and the
So
reason and the reason I'll go into this. Go ahead, finish up, and I will go into
yeah,
the reasons
I
also
was
why.
just gonna say Prince was kind of the level there, because McDaniels was really struggling with his shot, but his defense was really good. And Malik Beasley provided the exact opposite. Beasley couldn't defend himself if he was in a paper bag. Uh, but when his shot's going down, you put him on the floor. However, if you look at the minutes, they didn't have Torian Prince playing with those guys, unless Gerald McDaniels and or Beasley was on the floor as well. He was the cushion between those two guys, and when McDaniels started shooting well, that's when they decided they didn't need Prince. However, uh, Prince with the Lakers provides what he did with the Wolves 2 years ago, not last year.
Okay,
You
just
you
saying
have
because
well, and there's familiarity here too, right, Gerald? You played with
well,
D'Angelo Russell. You've played with Jared Vanderbilt. You're not going to be asked to be this team's primary scorer. You shoot six threes a game as a bench player, and that's all they're going to ask you to do, and play your brand of defense. That's it.
that's something I want to talk about before I bring Captain Joe into this. I want to go ahead and talk about one last thing because it's a continuing theme, my friend. And as we do these deep dives on these players, these new additions, Sean, the one thing that stands out to me again, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I'm not trying to rag on these guys at all. I'm just trying to tell people who they are, but because a lot of people they always come up with this reputation. Oh, he's a 3 and D guy. Oh, he's a 3 and D guy. Or he can really do this. He can really do that. Check the numbers because the numbers may actually lead you in a different direction. So, Sean, when I see he got his career worst 116 rating defensively, again, going what we went off of yesterday with Cam Reddish, again, going what we went off the day before with Gabe Vincent, these defensive ratings are not trending in a good direction before they come to the Lakers. My hope is that we'll go ahead and have them revert into the opposite direction. But this guy once had as far as Torian Prince, once had a defensive rating of 104. When I see 116 pop up for last year and it's not even close to whatever he was doing before, that concerns me, my friend, that Minnesota might know something that we don't, just like they did know something with D'Angelo Russell.
It's, that's very possible, Gerald. But I'll just say, let him go. He wasn't going to get his 7.4 million, so the Lakers got him for 4.5. So if Minnesota wanted to jettison a 37% free throw volume shooter because they made they so here's the thing, Gerald. Life is about choices. And Minnesota decided to make a choice by investing very heavily in Rudy Gobert. And they made a very bad decision.
Mhm.
And as a result of that decision, they had to abandon their original plan, which was to surround Carl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards with defenders and perimeter shooting. And they blew that up. And as a result, there's the law of unintended consequences. And like Torian Prince is, I agree, Gerald. He's not the touted quote unquote 3-and-D player. He needs complementary, better defenders around him. Once he has
Or
better
better defensive scheme.
scheme, exactly. And I think that was also a problem too. Like, all due respect, I know he's from another staff, but I think I think Chris Finch is one of the most uncreative coaches we have in the NBA, and you kind of see the results.
I'll tell you what, though, great to have everyone here. It is the Lakers Fast Break. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice, along with me, Gerald Glassford. But also here today, good man indeed. He gets fresh off the island. He's got that extra tan going right there.
Hmm.
He's fresh off of the Catalina Island, the 3-hour tour. It is the captain himself, Joe Soro. Joe, great to have you here with all the memes and the gifts that we've been throwing at you in regards to anything aquatic and naval earlier today. And then we just hope you and the family had a great time at Catalina Island. Great to have you here, my friend. Before we get into your thoughts on Taurean Prince, you heard the minor transaction going today. Say goodbye to Cole Swider. Up from the exhibit 10 goes Alex Fudge. Any thoughts on that as far as Alex Fudge being a possible long term member of the Lakers planning?
Well, the term raw was made for Fudge. Raw Fudge should be his name. And
Ugh.
Cole Swider is kind of giving you his ceiling a little bit. So it's the correct move at this point. Let's see what Fudge can give us. And I'll leave it at that. Taurean Prince is an interesting player. I've heard and read very good things about him. I've obviously watched him play to a certain extent. Very effective in the corners. Energy is there.
Very
But
determined to be above 40% this year from three, which I
yes,
like. I like his verbiage when he talked about
and
that.
when looking at what we've discussed already in terms of what the Lakers' expectations are, what they've done is they've brought in enough 50-50 guys to probably get at least 2 or 3 of those guys to fulfill what they need in terms of role players. So 3-and-D, I wouldn't call Prince a 3-and-D guy.
I could say one time he was. When he
Mhm.
averaged 104 on the defensive rating early on in his career with Atlanta, that's a 3-and-D guy to me. When he's 116, Joe, as a defensive rating,
Yeah,
I don't know if
it
we'll
doesn't
see him go
help.
there.
It doesn't help playing with one of the worst big men. It's one of the worst big men defensive players in Carl Anthony Towns, and then obviously Gobert's a defensive player. He's not really a guy that actually scares anyone, especially when the stakes are high. Anthony Edwards has shown that he's a two-way player. I don't know if he ever will. But in the year that Prince played his best basketball, it was in Atlanta, a year where he played all 82 games and averaged 30 minutes a game. And he was pretty effective, almost shot just under 39% from three, averaged 14 points a game, and shot just under 85% from the free throw line. So those little things actually do help in having some optimism in possibly him bringing that out, hopefully with a team of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, which will make those things easier for him. And his familiarity with D'Angelo and Jared Vanderbilt will also play a factor in this. I believe at the end of the day, the Lakers are going to have players that are going to come through, and there's going to be players that don't come through. And the ones that come through will cover the ones that don't. And I think that's what they did here. Darvin Ham has to put together a team here, a concept that makes sense as well. So we were hard on Darvin at the beginning and end of the regular season, made up a lot of ground in the playoffs. I'm fully expecting him to improve greatly on year one here, because now he's not going to have to worry about shuffling things unless it's for a main player at the deadline. I don't see the Lakers making any trades at the deadline in terms of team shifting type trade, unless it's a third star that absolutely is dead set on coming to LA, and that's the only place he'd go. If the Lakers are to make a trade, it will be to cover, maybe trade guys that weren't going to work or aren't working, and allow the Lakers to add maybe another veteran player to help them on the path from after the All-Star break to the playoffs. I believe that Prince will be effective based off of the team setup. He does fulfill a couple things that the Lakers need. One of the last things that we need to wait for is the LA spotlight and the Lakers spotlight going to affect him as well. That's always a crapshoot. You don't know until it starts.
Sean, I'm going to ask you this. I know Z has brought up as soon as I threw up the defensive rating. She says, can you see the stats where Prince was with slow-mo? Because I think those numbers were better than they were when they are separated. Okay, you could throw that out at me. You could throw that out for Gabe, whoever was Gabe Vincent, whoever was thrown out with Cam Reddish. Mm-hmm. I'm bringing out these defensive rating numbers for a reason. Okay, let's say with slow-mo Kyle Anderson, he was a little bit worse defensively. But when your numbers are so high, like 116, what did we say for Cam Reddish yesterday? It was like 115.
115, 118.
Yeah, 150. Yeah, well, his was 118, and then Gabe Vincent was 115. When you see these numbers that are high, okay, maybe it's a little bit because they're playing with certain personnel. Maybe it's a little bit because of the defensive scheme. Maybe those things can translate. Maybe you can make excuses here a little bit further. But the thing is, even when they're playing in their most optimal defensive outfit, they're still not getting the kind of numbers defensively that you want. My hope is that these are all aberrations, that they'll all play a little bit better in a better defensive scheme. The Lakers did average they were like in the top 5 in defense after the trade deadline. The defense was obviously key in the playoffs. Hopefully those guys coming in and providing enough hustle, and if they go ahead and pay attention to the defense coming through a training camp, they can go ahead and make sure that they are able to go ahead and be in tune with what Darvin Ham wants. I am hopeful that their defensive ratings go down, because if it does, even just a 3 or 4 points in a certain direction, that could be a benefit to the Lakers and make sure that they stay in the rotation. If they stay at 118, if they stay at 115, if they stay at 116, those are high numbers, and that really means that those guys can't play defense in the NBA.
That's exactly what it means.
I'm assuming the numbers will go down with the Lakers. I'm just assuming by them being on the Lakers, them giving an effort, and the Lakers have a better defensive mindset than most teams, especially also as well having AD there. If he's healthy, the numbers will go down. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah, all Gerald's saying is there's a correlation with the defensive rating. There's not necessarily a causation. There are 3 different
when you try
situations.
To make excuses. Well, when you try to make excuses with is he with this player?
You can't do that. It's like getting a medical report and the doctor says, "Oh, you had a regular heartbeat 2 months ago. Oh, we'll just forget about that. Let's not worry." No, of course, it's something to investigate and look into, because it's important to know whether or not it's going to be a lingering problem Or is it a one, like Gerald said, is it just an anomaly?
He might have a worse defensive rating with him and Slomo on the floor, but at 116, your numbers aren't good with pretty much anyone else.
It doesn't matter who you're playing with. You can play
Yeah,
with all three of us, and if your number is still 116, what excuse do you got?
exactly. So I'm just saying that these numbers for these guys coming in, you have to be aware of. Based off their history in each of these cases, they played at better defensive levels. They played at better defensive ratings. So I am pretty sure, Joe and Sean, that these guys are going to play better defense, that their numbers will trend in a better direction simply by being on the Lakers. And yes, Z, he will be a guy coming off the bench to give you limited minutes. But you want to
Mhm.
make sure, Joe, when it comes back, I send it back to you, you want to make sure these guys are able to play capable defense. These guys are all under 30. There should be no reason why they can't still play effective defense at this point in time.
Everyone knows their role. Everyone understands that there's a big pot of gold at the end of the year should they play well. If the Lakers win the championship with this team and everyone plays well and understands their roles, a lot of them will get paid. Some might stay with the Lakers, and some won't, and that's just how that will play out. If I'm Darvin Ham, that's what I'm preaching. If I'm Rob Pelinka, I'm saying those things as well. Play well. Don't be an individual here. Win a championship. It's like a shortstop playing for the Dodgers on a last year contract. You do that, you're going to get a $300 million contract. In this case, most of these guys are going to get more money than what they're getting paid now. Should they win and be a part of something that's showing their skills and their chemistry and their play. And that's it. There's enough talent in those guys like Prince and Reddish and Hayes. Talent. There's enough talent. Problem is always, can they mentally focus and be professionals? I think LeBron and AD will demand that, especially LeBron. And if they don't come through, they won't be playing. And I'm going to assume that Rob's going to let guys go if they don't perform or cause issues in the locker room. And you can do that with these guys. They're not getting paid that much money. You can do that. You got to focus on a championship this year. I believe this might be the last one in the LeBron AD era. I don't see, I don't know what to think about 2025. I feel like my instincts are telling me this is the last year that they have a chance at winning a championship, because you also have to factor in that LeBron is 1 year older. We're not throwing that in a lot. We're not talking about that a lot. Where
And
Prince,
will it change with what unfortunately happened to Bronny as
well,
far as
I
the
don't think that's
mindset?
going to change anything. Again, there have been issues like this in the past, recent past as well, and players have come back and played. So I wouldn't be too crazy about what's happened here until we obviously find out what really caused this. Could have been a freak thing for all we know. And if it is, then life goes on. You deal with it and then let them make the decision on what they want to do next. As far as LeBron, uh, LeBron is going to play out the next 2 years, and that's not anything other than a catastrophic injury. He's going to play the next 2 years. It's going to happen. Whether he retires after 2025 is up for debate. But Rich Paul did kind of throw out a feeler this last month about the possibility of LeBron not stopping after that. But that's down the road. Prince, Reddish, Vincent, uh, and the entire Reeves, these guys are going to need to take LeBron to the title, take him to the playoffs, make sure that they do their job so that he's ready to make a run in April, May, June.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro, aka Ox1947. You can catch him at LakersBall.com, plus SynBlades, SynBlades with a Y.com, and Magic Man Sean Grice. Magic Man, I want to ask you this: when it comes to Taurean Prince, what kind of lineup do you see him being in? I mentioned in the chat, the world's best chat out there for Lakers, right here at the Lakers Fast Break, that I thought that pairing him like maybe a late first quarter when AD goes out of the game, early second quarter, pairing him with LeBron, Austin Reeves, Vincent, and maybe Jackson Hayes. Maybe that's kind of a combination that might work with him. So you have some shooting there. Gabe Vincent again with LeBron and Gabe Vincent, if they improve by 3 percentage points on those two guys alone, if they improve to be 35% or above, I think that makes a heck of a difference and a world of difference in how much easier it would be for the Lakers.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It would be, and that's a small change. That's not a tsunami at all, Gerald. It's just a small little change, just a tinkering, and that's all it would take. True words have never been spoken. I agree 100% with that. And as far as lineups go with him, I think he at all times he either needs a Rui or a Vando beside him. Gerald, you're on mute.
Why do you think that's the case?
Like I said, he's not a focal locked in 3-and-D player. Mm-hmm. He needs other defenders around him and the scheme as well in order to complement what you're trying to do as a team defensively. He's not somebody who's like a Trevor Ariza or somebody like an Andre Robertson, who I could just say C22. 22 does not get to the basket for the next 4 minutes. He's not that kind of guy. But if you put him beside a Rui or a Vando, and then you have somebody like an Austin Reeves or a Gabe Vincent, another rough, rugged perimeter defender, I think that's complimentary for him. And I think he, surrounded by that, you get the best out of Taurean Prince. But asking Taurean Prince to be your primary, like one of your primary perimeter defenders, and to be one of your best sharpshooters, it's asking too much of him. He cannot do that, Gerald.
Okay. Joe, do you concur with what Sean is saying in regards to that, or did you have some other ideas?
Based off his performance, yes. And you don't really need to. No one on this team needs to be a shutdown defensive player other than maybe AD, because he's capable of doing it.
That's right.
So that's it. Yeah, this is going to be a 2020 redux, in my opinion. It's just different parts. If you want to win a championship, you actually have more depth on this team, possible depth, than you did in 2020. If these guys all connect, this will be a force. This team will be a force. And it's got youth other than LeBron. AD's going to be 31. AD's still young. So you got a team that's primed to play 82 games and then play a 3-month playoff run. That's the great thing about this, is there's youth and depth. It's just who's going to come out of the clan. Which kids are going to come up and say, I'm going to be the boss on my job. Imagine a farm, right? Imagine a farm. You have 8 kids. 3 or 4 of them are going to come out the gate. The other 3 or 4 are going to feed the pigs, right? So, yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to see, even as a non-Laker fan, just kind of interested in seeing how this turns out. There's a lot of potential good drama that could come from this, and Rob Pelinka has set the table for Darvin Ham, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and now it's their job to come through. We still have one more signing left. We're still waiting on what I believe is going to be a big. So that'll be likely the only change
or
between now and
bringing
the
someone up from the two ways, because again, we're still stuck with a three
Yeah,
two-way
I
contract.
don't know. I don't see anyone that likely will make an impact in the.
Well, we have to do something. We have to fill the 15
I,
spot.
I strongly believe the Lakers are bringing in some center big.
Well, they have to bring two players then.
Hey, go get Christian Wood and Biombo if you have to. I don't care.
But in order to keep the 3 two-way players, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have to. If you don't have 15 slots filled, you cannot keep 3 two-way players at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, Jelani McCoy would be good right now.
Oh my gosh, Jeloni.
2002 champion.
There you go. Absolutely. Actually, they were showing some. Was it McMenamin? He had retweeted some video, I guess, of Anthony Edwards, and it had, I guess, who was playing was Goldilock. If you remember Goldilock from the early 2010s, 2012, Anthony Goldilock. That's one name, and that's a name we always forget about when we do our random Laker.
It's hard to say his name. Tierre Brown was always my go-to.
There you go.
Tierre Brown. Laker fans do fall in love with certain players at least once a year.
This is true.
And it's always an overhyped player who's not really that good.
Yes. Why did they let him go? I love that guy.
Yeah,
man.
it's not good. And I'm tailing into the Laker Tom post today too. Boy, did he get fried again on his
Twitter?
trade. Yeah.
Was it his, or was it his, or was it somebody else's? Because he tweeted on somebody else.
It was Tom's. Tom's comment, I should say. So Tom is getting fried here. We're gonna have to somehow get him out of the burner.
And he was after Crandus Big Basketball.
Well, tell his ass to get back on the show so he can get some backup here.
I already asked. He's like, it's up to him. So
you can't be a baby boomer and say how the current generation blows and you act like them. Come on, Tom, if you're listening, get your ass over here.
Okay, so his latest article is the cons.
Don't worry, Jamie's not coming. Although I would want him to.
He might be coming on. He's on stage tonight, so he said he'll try it after his gig to stop by here in a few minutes. So hopefully that'll be the case. But Sean, I'm looking at Laker Tom's article right now on Lakerholics.com. The cons against two bigs. So okay, he went from the pros to the two bigs on his most recent article to the cons of two bigs. So this is how far we are into the season. So now we got the pros and the cons of two bigs. Obviously, he's trying to weigh everything for, because you see him all the time on Twitter of his thoughts on that. So that's fine. What have you. But when it comes to Taurean Prince playing some valuable minutes as a guy that can spot up from three, I think it's crucial for him to go ahead and be right around that 40% mark. If he doesn't get, as Joe commonly says, and rightly so, about the lights, destroying your 3-point percentage, if he is able to go ahead and bypass that and actually shoot near 40%, even with some, suspect defense right now, from what I'm seeing, even with that all is said and done, if he shoots 40%, he could be a key factor coming off the bench for the Lakers.
He sure can. And if we have, if we have both Bismack Biyombo and Christian Wood on our team, Gerald, I think I'm going to need a surgical lobotomy. I'm not going to be able to sustain that, I don't think, for the whole year.
Okay, so wait. Okay, his articles, Laker Tom, were the push for two bigs, then the pros for two bigs, then the cons for two bigs. So,
yeah, it's fan-sided. It's like one giant fan-sided. It's like, Lake Show Life and Lakerholics need to swap ideas because it seems like they're copying each other.
And then, of course, as Joe was asking about, Laker Nation is copying our ideas as well.
Are you sure they did that, or was it just a coincidence?
It wasn't a goddamn coincidence. They know what they're doing.
So why would they copy a show that only has 929 followers at this point on YouTube?
We're setting the trend.
Are we?
I hope so. You keep telling me we are.
I'm talking about it from their perspective. I'm not talking about it from our perspective. They don't know what the hell we're doing.
Well, here's the thing, Joe, and some people tend to have a misperception about this. Okay, there is a difference between jealousy and envy.
Catalina Joe, that's
Envy,
too funny.
envy is being um, coveting what somebody else has. In other words, what somebody else has, you want. Jealousy is seeing what someone has and being afraid that they're going to take it. That's what Lakers Nation is about. They're jealous. They are jealous. The difference is we are not envious. We don't give a flying French toast about Lakers Nation. They can go blow themselves for all I care. They're
I don't watch their product. I just see it every now and then, and they bore me. They put me to sleep.
Copying us was really low. That's really low. You know?
I'm not. I don't think they copied. It's like Joe. It's like saying, but obviously we got to talk about it. But it's very convenient, the timing of it. But
Yeah,
again,
it's jealousy. It's jealousy.
Well, let's look at the timelines here. Laker Nation, I believe, started on YouTube in 2009. Lakers Fast Break started in 2019, so they have a 10-year head start on us. So if you want to talk about where we'll be in 10 years or 6 years versus Laker Nation, yeah, I don't see how we're not going to be the trend, especially on Laker Talk. It's the inevitability of the show's personality that's going to eventually take, and I believe a lot of it will be driven by those who don't like what we're saying. Now, the only difference is between, let's say, the schmucks on TNT, like Charles Barkley and Shaq, who don't do jack squat in terms of preparation, will actually be prepared. And we'll be prepared even more when we can actually use this as our primary. That's a scary thing. When I can actually do what Stone was doing. Do you imagine that? Imagine what happens when we're doing what Stone is doing. And I'm really, really, really upset the fact that no one's picked him up.
Yeah,
Because that guy
Stone.
just.
Yeah,
I've been around a lot of guys. Guys, I'm sure you guys have too. I've been around a lot of guys in sports. That mother, you know what, knows his crap. He knows his stuff. Because 99.9% of the time, when I talk to people, they don't know jack squat. And most of them are on ESPN talking as anchors or commentating about why Jaylen Brown's contract is good for whatever. Like, really? Like, why the hell would I care to hear why it's good or bad? What does that even mean? Like, just useless content. Useless content. And I've never gotten that from Stone. Stone is in your face in a subtle way, and he actually knows his crap because he put the time in. So,
he's direct. He's direct.
He is direct, but he does it in a nice way, whereas some of us will do it in a sometimes obnoxious way. I know I have that habit of doing that sometimes.
You have?
Yeah, it's whatever gets
agree.
your voice to go into that other, volume.
My octave, yes,
Yeah,
octave higher.
The one that busts windows. The
I haven't busted my windows. It's right there.
It's too hot to bust windows over there.
It's literally right there.
It'll just melt.
Melt. I melt. I have to step outside to melt.
Yeah.
It's 116.
The hell with this desert heat. Jesus, it's down here too. Luckily, I was in Catalina today, where it was 80 degrees with some wind. But
that's terrible.
the future of Laker talk is going to be us. I don't know who does stuff like we do, because at some point, especially when it's a collective, like 2 or 3. I mean, it's a miracle that there's 3 here that's regularly here, because most people bow out. Most people are not committed. Most people whine. Most people cry. Most people don't get their way. They turn into little Ben Simmons.
Most people or argue maybe on Lakerholics.com.
So just know that just because we know you and we respect you, just like family members in my family, just like friends in my circles, when you do something that's suspect, you're going to get called out for it. Doesn't mean I don't love you or care for you, but if you act a certain way, we're going to make an announcement. Grow some nuts. Stop whining. If you want to understand what this is about entertainment. People who are watching this show want to be entertained while we also give them relevant information. And that's what this is about. I mean, no one's talking about Prince in the Laker world, right? Why is that? Well, maybe it's boring to some people, right? Maybe. But when you're watching him play and you start feeling hearing the clicks that you heard on the show, that's going to register. Hey, this is what Sean said. This is what Gerald said. Now you're going to have a whole new respect for what the show's about. You know, and Gerald kind of brought him down. I'm reading YouTube comments about Prince. If you didn't know who the hell he was, you would have thought this guy was Kawhi Leonard. It's wrong. It's wrong.
There's
to
a
say
reason
that this
why
guy,
Minnesota cut his 10, left him, they let him go. They didn't.
No,
they
yeah,
did not,
guys don't get let go, guys. Guys that are 3-and-D guys. When you say the word 3-and-D, I'm expecting Kawhi Leonard type player, not to his, ceiling, but a guy that can guard and hit and hit shots. This guy can hit shots, but he's been suspect on the defensive end. And we also have to factor in that he's coming to LA. This isn't going to be inside the Siberia of the NBA in Minnesota, where everyone there claps whether you win or lose. Okay, the Lakers don't even like winning the wrong way, let alone losing. So the pressure's going to be there, especially because we need him to play well. We need everyone to play well besides LeBron and AD. And that's important. It's important to set expectations in a correct way based off of the information that we've watched, based off the information that's being presented, and also guiding how is that going to guide into a team concept with this particular player and his skills. If you're looking at it from, let's say, his best attribute, which is the corner three. Okay, corner three. Again, back to what I was saying about AD playing the 4 versus the 5. You play him at the 4, space opens even more. Why do we keep talking about Christian Wood? Christian Wood happens to be a big that can shoot. Now you have AD at the 4, Wood at the 5, and I'm saying Wood because that's the only guy available to make this make sense at the money that we can pay him. Otherwise, I'd love to talk about other guys. So you have AD and Wood in that lineup that are going to open the lane up. Guess what? Now LeBron can get to the basket, which is what his greatest attribute of his career is always going to be that. Now Prince sitting on the corner. Why? Because you're going to have to figure out, are you going to let Wood wide open, or are you going to have an alley-oop with AD? No. They're going to guard Wood, guard AD. Guess what? Prince is going to be in the corner that's where he does his damage. That's where he's still been consistent at. Now what? Now we got to wait to see if those crypto lights aren't too bright for him to make that on at least a 38% clip. I mean, come on. This is I'm sorry to say this, but I'm speaking for MagicMan here and Gerald. This is what we do. This is the stuff I'm sitting around looking at sometimes when I have a break. Thank God for the smartphone. I'll tell you that right now. Sometimes I'll sit there and I'm like, all right, I took care of some work. Let's see what's going on with the intricacies of what's coming here.
We'll see what happens, my friend, but excellent thoughts there from Joe Soro. Please go ahead and check out more when he's on Lakersball.com and, of course, his own company, SynBlades with a Y.com. MagicMan, Quinn, it's been alluded to that he shoots better from the corners, and if that's the case, Taurean Prince if that's his strength, that's something that I'm hoping he'll be able to translate here, is where he'll be able to go ahead and get a lot of shots from the corner. I know we had Vanderbilt. I know we've had some other players in the corner from time to time, but no one real player has solidified himself as the corner three guy. It would be nice if Prince could be that guy to say, hey, look, I'm going to go to the corner. I'm going to be that guy right there. I'm going to draw the defense out. I'm going to hit you some threes at a 40 to 45% clip. I think that'll be better for the team. May not give me as many reps or as much usage as I like, but then again, it's going to help this team win some games.
Yeah, absolutely. The one issue, Gerald, is that when he plays with LeBron, they're gonna have to figure out where he is on the floor because he loves the left center as much as LeBron does.
Yeah.
That's
And that's the
usually
thing.
where.
He's better, even though he's more effective somewhere else.
Exactly. As weird as that sounds, but Gerald is correct. So I think Prince will have a good role and will eventually fit into it. But as Gerald has alluded to, I think there's just going to be some trial and error here. And one of the issues is that, for some reason, Taurean Prince can operate one area of the floor, but when he's left center, that's the heat zone. It's so strange. They're gonna have to figure that out, especially with LeBron on the floor if they play together.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. It is Gerald Glassford along with Joe Soro, MagicMan, Sean Grice. Thanks so much for watching, listening. Before we head on out, I want to go ahead and mention that tomorrow's profile is who is Jackson Hayes. So we'll be able to go into depth on Jackson Hayes, the promise that he might bring, the fact that Joe has alluded to time and time again with great satisfaction, and myself as well, is that he solidifies the trade to AD, working out in our favor once and for all. It's like a little exclamation point. It's like a little cherry and nuts on top of the sundae right there for you as far as what it does, because he's now a part of Lakers, young, athletic, big. What can he do for the Lakers? We'll go ahead and talk to more about him tomorrow when it comes to who is Jackson Hayes. Live Free says the new McGee. We'll wait and see, but go ahead,
That
Joe.
would be nice. That would be nice. I just find it hilarious that the Lakers have the 8th, 9th, and 10th pick of the 2019 draft.
Hilarious, isn't it?
I think that's just hilarious.
And a much cheaper rate than what those other teams had to pay.
Absolutely.
Yep. But it worked out very well for the Lakers on that. Hopefully these guys can fill out their promise. And before we go, let's touch on that real quick. But, I know we'll touch on a lot more when it comes to Jackson Hayes, but let's touch on that. When you have
we'll
the
be
8th,
ripping
9th,
on.
and 10th.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Sean. When you do have the 8th, 9th, and 10th picks from that draft, are you concerned that you're just getting someone else's discarded individuals, or do you think that you can find real promise if one of those guys hits out of those three?
Well, to be fair, I think Hayes, Prince, Reddish. Yeah, you know what, Gerald? I think Jackson Hayes would be the only player described there as sloppy seconds. The other two guys have been on multiple franchises beforehand, traded multiple times. With Hayes, Joe's kind of brought it up before about Reddish and Hayes. He's like those are the two mystery bags on the Lakers roster. It's just you never know what you're gonna get. It could be a good performance. It could be a mystery bag with those two. But I mean, we'll discuss Hayes tomorrow. I mean, Hayes also fits into a role as well, Gerald. It's just whether or not he will be comfortable in it in LA.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely talk about whether or not he can fit that role for the Lakers or not. But again, we do have Jackson Hayes, Rui Hashimura, and Cam Reddish. One of those guys did, Joe, fill out for the Lakers. And that was Rui Hashimura. Is there a way we can find success with either Cam Reddish or Jackson Hayes? Again, we talked about yesterday how Cam Reddish, if there's a team that can actually be a good fit for Cam, it would be the Lakers, because we rely so much on transition and free throws. He excels at transition and free throws. So if there's any team that Cam Reddish can go ahead and be successful on, it's this one. Same with Jackson Hayes. Oh, I don't want to get too much into it because that's our discussion for tomorrow. But Jackson Hayes could also fit that parameter where you have not only one player in that 8, 9, 10 scenario that makes it like Rui does. We could have 2 or 3.
Well, I'll set the teaser on Jackson Hayes for right now, in conjunction with Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish's issue is his attitude, and we've seen attitudes shift in the past, even after 2 or 3 stints. So there's a possibility of that possibly happening, i.e., Dwight Howard 2020. The issue with Jackson Hayes, according to the New Orleans Pelican fan base, is he's not smart. His basketball IQ is not good.
And we already dealt with that already with Mo Bamba.
Mo Bamba, and that's what I was going to say. You took it out right out of my head. It's got a very Mo Bamba-like feel because you can't necessarily now. JaVale McGee was known as a guy that wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but he was never called someone with low basketball IQ. He actually was pretty darn effective and knew his role. And I mean, I don't think he gets enough credit for playing as well as he did in 2020 for the Lakers. I think he was a big piece of that. His attitude too, just everything, guys. These guys knowing their roles and doing what they're supposed to when they're supposed to. I always compare JaVale McGee's role in 2020 like AC Green in 2000.
Yeah.
He started the game and he just did the things you needed him to do, and then the other guys took over the rest of the way. And it's invaluable how important those 12 minutes are, in that first quarter, to get the ball rolling. And he was really good at doing that. Unfortunately, Jackson Hayes, and I'll leave it at this, hasn't shown the acumen for the NBA game. Whether that changes with the Lakers, it doesn't look good, but we'll see.
We'll see indeed. We'll talk about the promise and the concerns that many people have, but the promise that actually Jackson Hayes can have, the promise that Laker Tom has as far as what he thinks that he can do, and whether or not he actually will be the starter or is best suited as a backup. We'll talk about that on the show as well tomorrow. But guys, it's been a great conversation talking about Taurean Prince and also as well Alex Fudge now on a 2-way with the Lakers. Again, what does that mean? What's the meaning behind Alex Fudge getting in the 2-way contract? Could there be something bigger in store? Could they be moving up to Colin Castleton or Demoy Hodge to those 2 slots? What's actually going on with that? Or are they just going ahead and making sure he at least gets some more cash before they ultimately decide what to do with him? Very interesting to see. But Joe, Sean, I'll start with you, Joe. Any last thoughts before we
Fudge was a guy that I wanted to see in summer league. He's a freakish athlete, and you can take something raw and turn it into something ripe. Well, why not? Cole Swider has hit a ceiling, unfortunately. He's not gonna likely be an NBA caliber player. He will be a European or Chinese or whatever player, and that's just what that is. But with Alex Fudge, there is something there that you can possibly sharpen, and I think it's a really good call and bringing him on board and seeing what he can do. There was a couple of weak side blocks that he did during summer league that I thought, this freakish athleticism. I want to see more of that. Maybe you can harness that and turn him into maybe a Vando type player. Well, it's worth it. It's worth doing that.
Sean, aka Razor Ramon, with the toothpick right there for you. Hey, yo. Any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out? Are you the bad guy before we head on out?
You know what? I don't think I could ever get away with that. Honestly,
yeah, I don't think you can either.
Nah, I know I could never call myself the bad guy, but I like the bad guys. I loved Razor Ramon, loved The Undertaker, loved Ted DiBiase. Jimmy Conway wasn't the only guy who rooted for the bad guys in the movies. So did I.
Mhm. Absolutely. But any last thoughts, my friend, on the Lakers before we head out for the evening?
I can't add anything more eloquently than Mr. Soro just did about Fudge. Hopefully, there's a whole lot of Fudge to watch in the South Bay Lakers as he develops. Hopefully, what will be a decent offensive game. I mean, if you're not going to develop a jump shot, at least learn to finish a layup for God's sakes.
Exactly. With his athletic ability, there is absolutely no excuse. And we saw it is definitely a work in progress. I'm actually surprised they did it, to be honest with you. I would,
Yeah, so am I.
yeah,
So
I
am
mean,
I thought he would stay in Exhibit 10,
yeah.
or they would let
So
him
they don't have
go
to commit to it until the beginning of the
right
season.
now, and now they do. But I think it's what you were espousing earlier, Gerald. That this is basically a relationship building mechanism for other agents or this particular agent to see that you could work with somebody like Rob Pelinka. I think it's more to do with networking rather than giving the kid an opportunity.
We'll see what happens. Indeed, I wish the best for him, hoping that he can actually find an offensive game that can actually get him and keep him in the league. We'll see what happens if that's with the Lakers, but going forward, no more Cole Swider. So we wish you well, Cole Swider. We also want to go ahead and again extend our prayers and thoughts for Bronny James and the James family. Hopefully everything is getting better and Bronny James is on the mend. Also want to go ahead and give a big shout out again to our good friend Stone Hansen. Stone, if you're watching this or wherever you are, my friend, wishing you well. You know you're always welcome back here. The red carpet is always wide open for you to come back here at any point in time. I hope you decide to find again that love of the game of basketball that will get you back right here with us at the Lakers Fast Break and also your own show Upside Swings. Hopefully you'll decide to return there as well. I noticed the guys kind of gave you a send off on today's program, but I say I don't give you a send off for now. I just hope I will see you again very soon. So for Magic Man Sean Grice and Captain Joe Soro, toot toot, coming back in off the island. It is Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. I love those memes that we were giving Joe today. That last one on the boat, Catalina, that was a good. I found that one. As soon as I typed it up in the GIF meter, I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is perfect.
I
Oh my
thought they were
God.
lame, but if you liked them,
No, they were
No,
not.
no, so a couple of them were actually very funny.
Yeah, the boat crashing into the
I'm
bridge, I
sorry,
thought that
I
was
didn't think
great.
they were. I thought they were kind of weak.
No, they weren't. You know they weren't. I'm sorry. You know they weren't. Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. Thanks so much for watching, listening. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll try to be on at a little earlier time. We'll try. I know we got some flack for it tonight from our East Coast viewers. We'll try again. We're not making a ton off the stuff yet, so
I do have a final word for Live
got
Free.
lives. Sorry.
And this comes from Ellen DeGeneres' side of be kind.
Yes. Be kind
to
indeed.
each other.
Once again, it is the Lakers
Projection,
Fast
huh?
Break. Yep, projection.
I'm surprised no one threw her out of a window, man. She's like what, 5'2", $120 probably.
Well, we're
Threw
not
her
in
out of
Russia.
a
We're not in
window?
we're not in Russia.
I meant the women.
We're not in
Oh.
Russia.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
he fell out of an 8th-story window. This rich oligarch worth $400 million. He just fell out the window. Oh, really? Oh, case closed.
Just an accident, of course. Absolutely. There you go. But it is the Lakers Fast Break. Thanks so much for watching this thing. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully at an earlier time. But again, no promises till we can make this thing a real gig. We'll try to do our best to accommodate everyone out there. But you can always catch us. It's not like the shows can't be watched. You can go ahead to Facebook, Trovo, Twitch, Twitter, and us right here on YouTube. Subscribe today. Hit Joe's beady eyes down below to go ahead and get the latest notification on Lakers Fast Break. I'm sorry I don't have an updated one with the little captain's hat. Sorry, it's just got to be the one right there. But please,
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's get the Captain Crunch hat on there.
no, but then I would make it too small because remember it's so small already with
Oh,
just the
yeah,
beady
that's
eyes.
true.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's just
yeah.
keep the beady eyes there. But we're almost there to 1,000. Please go ahead and help us out. Anything you could do to help us out would be greatly appreciated. But thanks again to the chat, the best Lakers chat that's out there at the Lakers Fast Break. Joe Soro, MagicMan, Sean Grice, it's Gerald Glassford. Again, we'll see you tomorrow. Having a good time talking Jackson Hayes right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.